Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the third series of the video. We'll talk about analyze phase in a Six Sigma project. Earlier we talked about define, which is how or what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Then we talk about measure, which is how big is the problem. So in this case, we're going to talk about analyze phase. In analyze phase, mostly it's to do with stratifying your causes that you have identified in measure phase and identify which are the vital factors that you can bring into improve phase to be able to solve. Now, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, after your measure phase, you will have a toolkit review with your champions or sponsors. They will look into the project and see if there's any further changes. And your project is still live, so you can still revise your project charter if you need to and bring that into analyze phase. You can again bring back your root cause analysis, which is your fishbone diagram, into analyze phase. You may have over the period during the toolkit review itself identified further causes that are attributable to your projects, so you can bring that into the analyze phase and for subject to further review. And you can also update your FMEA, if any, and bring that into your analyze phase. I'll give you, although I mentioned a few tools earlier, I'll give you about a minute to look at the slide and see the new tools beyond FMEA that we will speak to about in a minute. So from your data collection plan that you have completed earlier in measure phase, you will bring in your root cause analysis, fishbone diagram and FMEA as mentioned earlier into your analyze phase. Now from that fishbone diagram, you will have identified the causes that you brainstormed earlier and use CNE metrics to prioritize. So next stage is actually to identify which of the causes are really the vital factors or the root causes, which are just symptoms. Sometimes you'll notice that in any Six Sigma project there is always symptoms of a problem, and sometimes we say there are root causes. Just to give you an example, if someone has a fever, right, the first action is they will take paracetamol to bring the fever down. Now, the fever actually is a symptom of an ailment. It could be just that you're having flu, or it could have been just that you had food poisoning, let's say, or you have some infection. Now, obviously, the infection, the food poisoning, or even the flu actually is the root cause. Fever was just a symptom of that particular ailment. So you took paracetamol and you felt better. Similarly, in Six Sigma as well, you will see in the process there are a lot of vital factors that are causing the real problem actually, and some are just what we call symptoms of the problem in hand. So it's very important to try to understand first with data. Like there's a saying that you can't manage what you don't measure. So in this case, data collection is very important, and for the data collected, we have to use several tools that can be categorized into two segments, which is either graphical or statistical. Now let's start with graphical analysis. Now, generally a Six Sigma project green belt level, sometimes it is sufficient for you to just justify your vital factors using charts. We call it graphical summary. Some of the example of charts are dot plots, time series plot, let's say, box plots. One of the useful tools are box plots. Even you can do Pareto as well. Scatter plots, matrix plots, and there are a lot more other plots and graphs that you can use. Now in this case, you can see trends, you can see certain correlation using graphical summaries and so on, and you can identify which are the root causes, which are not. The second part, the interesting part actually, is the statistical analysis. Now generally, green belted, you can go into statistical analysis, which is highly recommended, or even for black belt, it's highly recommended to use statistical analysis as well. The first part of statistical analysis is what we call hypothesis testing. There will be a null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So there are a lot of tools in here as well, which we can't cover in today's video because there's a lot of statistical tools. For example, one sample t-test, two sample t-test, ANOVA, and we also have other tools for non-normal data, let's say Kruskal-Wallis test and so on. There are other tests as well, chi-square, proportion tests. So all these normally you will learn during training. Obviously, like I mentioned, there's not enough time here to go through every one tool. Now they do have a significant impact on your project. This is where you can reliably say that this is a root cause or not. And the concept is used what we call p-value. So you have a null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So you have to choose one of the hypotheses. So we have to understand what is the concept of p-value here. And obviously data, like I mentioned earlier, there is normal data and there is non-normal data. You need to be able to ascertain when to use your conclusion based on mean value, which is normal data, or median values, which will be non-normal data. And one of the most interesting ones in statistical analysis is also your correlation and regression analysis. So you can look at how to correlate your inputs and outputs. We call it X and Y, and also regression equations. Sometimes regression equations can give you a lot of output, particularly where an problem is actually not due to one factor alone, but it could be due to several factors. And in this case, we can use a tool called multiple regression analysis. There are other tools as well. For example, best subset regression. So you can use best subset regression when you have many multiple variables that you want to be able to look at the best combination for a regression analysis. Then you finally have to do what we call a root cause summary. From all the factors that you have identified from your fishbone diagram, even from FMA to some extent as well, you will bring that in and into your analyze phase and summarize them, which are the vital factors, which are not. If those you have identified using graphical or statistical analysis as vital factor, then we need to take this into the next phase, which is the improve phase. And we have to determine what is the next tool is the action plan for improve phase, which is we have to determine what are the action plan that we can do for the to identify solutions for the causes that have been identified. Similarly, like just now, we need to have a project timing plan. You can just do it activities as well. There's a possibility of having more just do it activities that is attributable to this project. And we still have to look at any other issues in analyze phase, barriers, challenges, and summarize the analyze phase. So what are the most difficult phase actually is analyze phase, because data itself, sometimes you will notice that it's very difficult to collect data. Sometimes data is not available freely, or sometimes the data itself is, you don't have data for that particular causes that have been identified. Now the best thing is actually, if you don't have data, start collecting it when your project is started, or at least at measure phase, so that by the time you come to analyze phase, you have some data that you can study. Other tools are normally we can use, we have heard maybe of 5Y analysis or 3x5Y analysis. Now 5Y analysis is useful too if you have a very confident team that actually can brainstorm and break down the causes itself to down the root cause. Generally, sometimes the 5Y analysis, if it's not done properly, then you will just go around in circles and you will not be able to find the root cause of the problem. So data is very important, and the type of data as well. You need to be able to understand that sometimes you will find that there is normal data, sometimes non-normal data, then there is continuous data and discrete data as well. So this is the reason why analyze phase is tough. Not only because the type of test that we need to use, the type of chart, but also data collection itself can fall into many different categories. So some other optional tools here in analyze phase is value stream map. You can do an advanced value stream map, where normally some projects, especially manufacturing, if you have drawn a current state map in your measure phase, then we can look at how to convert that into future state map using some of the lean tools available. We talk about lean tools in improve phase. You can also do a swim lane diagram as well. Now in analyze phase, your tools are not only restricted to this. Obviously, there's a lot more or many other ways to be able to determine the root causes. A lot of study we have done, for example, in other industry, for example, banking or services industry, where data is not easily collectible. So what we normally do is benchmarking or best practices as well. We look at other companies within the industry, what they do as best practice, or benchmark them and try to get solutions from there, or even ask some subject matter experts as well for particular hypotheses that we have. Analyze stage involves a lot of work where you have to be innovative in the way you try to get your data analyzed and how you collect the data as well. There are many tools, and practice makes perfect. We do use software. There are a lot of software out there to help you in analyze phase. There is Sigma Excel, there is Minitab, there is Sigma Pro. There is also some customized Excel sheets as well. One of the most useful we always use is Minitab, and also in Sigma Excel as well, where Minitab actually will be able to help you to use the tools, the graphs, the charts, and also statistical analysis in a very easy format and give an output. But still, the challenge is actually interpreting the data itself, the output of data itself. The challenge is that, how do you come to a conclusion? So in summary, in analyze phase, you can still revise your project charter. You can bring back your fishbone diagram if there's any changes to identify earlier in the toolkit session. You can bring back your FME as well again, and any other activities from there. Then you look at your fishbone diagram, collect the data, and use some graphical analysis. There's a lot of charts that you can use to be able to analyze the data and convert the data into useful charts. As I mentioned, box plot, for example, is very widely used. Then we have the hypothesis testing, one sample t-test, two sample t-test, Kruskal-Wallis, and so on. Then we can also do correlation and regression analysis. There's a lot of theory behind this particular test, which we don't have time now to cover. For example, what's R-square value? How do you justify the correlation values, and so on. And then we finally root cause, the summary of the root cause itself, the vital factors, we mentioned what they are, and try to get an action plan. What can we do in improve phase for those vital factors? And then we do a project timing plan, just do it activities, talk about the issue, barrier, and challenges. And finally, if you want to use any other additional tools like value stream map, swim lane, any other method as well, for example, benchmarking, best practice, you can do so. So that's analyze phase, one of the toughest stages, as I mentioned, in the Sigma project, but it's very fun as well to do. Normally, there's a lot of challenges here. We as consultants, normally we find it challenging, and we learn a lot from analyze stage. There's always a wow factor in analyze phase as well. I've noticed during analyze phase presentations, sometimes a champion and sponsors as well, they are surprised to see the data and how the data is transformed into something useful using some graphical analysis or statistical analysis. So thank you for listening for analyze phase. The next video will be on improve phase, which will be out shortly. Thank you.